All right, welcome back to the Grace Family Love Podcast. We are Joe and Vanessa back with you again for episode number 39. And our goal is the same. It's to help you stop surviving and start thriving. We are with you today, and my lovely wife is back. You may have noticed we took a week just to kind of...
a week?
Yeah, we took a whole week just to kind of lay back. And really, it was just about her recovering and me just trying to be the help to be able to help her get there.
Here's my bedside nurse, guys.
Yeah, so we're still, you're still, recovering in a lot of ways, but I think that we're definitely on the right track.
Yeah, definitely. Today was the first day that I was able to go out for just a bit, like maybe half hour. That we pulled out a transporter. He was pushing me around.
Yeah.
So it was nice just to be outside and just see sun. I haven't seen sun in a long time. Feels like I've been, like Lily said today, Mom, you're just keeping me in a dungeon. Our house is a dungeon, guys. But speaking of Lily, so today we're going to just talk about that. We're going to talk about kids. And it's funny because I've been kind of hearing it everywhere, and I forget, guys, and I'm sorry, we forget, me especially, how hard it was to parent, because we have it pretty easy. Lily has her attitude sometimes, and she is emotional, but for the most part it's pretty easy, I'm not gonna lie. But we had, what is that show, the Hell's Kitchen? That's what it felt like in my house every day. I kid you not. I cried during potty training season. Literally my son's crying in the bathroom and, you hate me. And I'm just like, oh, I hate myself. That's how bad it was. I'm not joking. So, and I forget how much effort and how many workshops we had to go through and how many different techniques we had to do with each kid, because it feels like it's been ages. But when we start talking about it, a lot of people are still in that season right now when they're parenting their kids or they're going through it together while trying to have a marriage, while trying to work, while trying to do all this. So we kind of just wanted to touch bases a little bit about that. And just hopefully it helps anybody that's struggling with it. I know I had a couple of messages today about parenting. So they asked, I think it would be a great podcast where we're on it.
Yeah, for me, I think that I think Vanessa's feeling the weight lifted, and so for her, I'm glad that it feels like that it's easy, that we got it pretty good. But I think part of that is because I'm actually doing my part. So
I didn't say that, guys. He said that. Oh my gosh.
It's okay. So I'm actually doing my part, and so that helps, right? Yeah. When you have two parents that are actively involved in parenting, that are trying to work together, that have the best interests of the children in mind, while at the same time trying to be wholesome, trying to be present, trying to be nurturing, all the things that parents need to be when they need to be them, we are doing it together. So I think that is one key element that has allowed her to feel the weight that was on her before has been lifted. The other thing is that with Lily, she's our only girl, and so her demands are, I think, at least how I feel, they're a lot more on me.
Yeah, they are.
So that might also be why you feel like the burden is lifted, is because that, for the boys, they tend to gravitate towards mom.
Yes.
And so we had 3 boys, and so back to back to back. Well, if you know our story, we were married with 2 kids, right? I had one from previous marriage. She had her oldest son, Brandon, from previous relationship.
Gavin was just turning 5 when I met them.
Yeah, so when we got together, it was automatically new marriage with 2 kids, and 2 boys that were very demanding in their own ways.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, she's feeling the stress and the pressure of everything, and then I'm just newly married with her, and I really don't understand what my role is or how to fulfill that role as a parent.
Mine's twitching right now, guys. I'm just going backwards. I'm
as a parent, I didn't understand how to fill that role. So I'm not saying I was absent, but I would say that I wasn't active. Yeah. And so that made her feel that she was doing it all alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
If he was absent.
Yeah. In a lot of ways she was, because it was easy for me to go and do the things that I needed to do, like work and, helping people, all this other stuff. I put everything else as a priority. And so I was pretty much running back and forth while she was taking care of the kids. And so now with Lily, you know, our other kids are older. You know, our youngest boy now, he's 13, so he can do things on his own. He can, you know, make his food if he needed to. If he's hungry and he doesn't want to wait for dinner, he can make himself something and he'll do that. You know, those kinds of things. Laundry, he does it on his own. Yeah. You know, all these other things that he's capable of doing allow us to have that a little more freedom from the responsibilities that come when your kids are completely and 100% dependent on you. So Lily right now makes all of her demands towards me as far as, you know, the time, like spend time with me, do this with me, let's go for a walk, can we do this, can we do that? You know, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, she has no problems interrupting. So on the good side, that's great, because I personally need that for my kids to interrupt me, because I get consumed with things and I'm just in it 100%. So she comes and she breaks it up, you know, she breaks up my program and says, you know, what are you doing? You know, what? Oh, okay. Yeah. Can I sit right here? She'll sit on my lap and want to see what I'm doing, you know, for 5 minutes, and then she'll leave, and 10 minutes later come back. Oh, hey, let me show you something. Can I show you this real quick? And even if it's the same thing she showed me 10 times yesterday, you know, it's important to her. It's important to her because it's a moment that she's expressing that something was funny or something that made her happy, and she's sharing it with me. So that's every day, a lot, every day. So since I've been home with Vanessa, helping her in her recovery, it's pretty constant. Like as soon as I get home, let me show you this, you know, let me show you that. What were you doing? How do you do this? What is it that you're doing now? Oh, okay. Can you come back and show me this later? Can you come back and, you know, check on me? And it's just constant. So that for me is very new. I wasn't used to that before, and I'm growing in a lot of ways. And so
having to have a lot of patience and just not only that, understand just how it's like I told you guys before, when he used to handle the boys, it was different. The way that he talked to them, the way that he addressed them, the way that he addressed their needs. With her, he's having to like almost walk on eggshells, because all her yes or no's are attached to emotions, are attached to that means you love me or not, regardless of if it's the right thing or not. That's how she feels, because she's learning. So that's kind of what I want to talk to you guys about. Not as so much about Lily, but just the fact about that your kids are learning. Okay. It doesn't matter if they're 1, 2, 3, 7, 12, 13. They are all learning. Okay. And they're all going to go through the emotions of learning how to be a 3-year-old, learning new things on what can they do, what cannot they not do. So you're going to have to take a role of, think about it this way, of a teacher.
Yes.
And I want you to detach the part of where you feel like the parenting part. When you think about it as a parent, then all your emotions are going to be in it. And this is the hard part. When I was raising the kids, this is what I assumed. I literally thought Gavin was not going to go to college. That's our 20-year-old. He was not going to go to college. He was going to go to jail by the time he was 13. I'm not lying. That, I don't know, that just the worst case scenario, that's what I thought about Gavin. With Brandon, I thought like, oh my God, he's going to end up in the mental hospital because he can't, like, it's too much. Everything's too much for him. And I can't even talk to him. And here I'm over here thinking these ideas when they're like 7, 8. And you can think like, okay, Vanessa, for the guys, you're like, you guys are crazy. Ask the moms. Ask the moms if we don't feel the sense of guilt because our kids are not well-mannered by the time they're 6 or 7 or 8, or they don't have it all together. We are highly critical on the way that we raise our kids. And because of that, because we get so frustrated because we want them to almost be perfect, and we already start seeing the most like worst thing, we treat them like so. And out of our frustration, we parent. Yeah. And that's when it's wrong, because we're not teaching them how to deal with what they shouldn't be doing. We're not teaching them what to do. We're just reacting to whatever they're doing. Yeah. So it doesn't help them. Who's going to teach them not to fight? Who's going to teach them why should they be a good brother? And how could they be a big brother? How would they love their brother or sister? Like, who teaches them that? How do you tell them to do that? You know, do you just say, you're not supposed to do that? What's wrong with you? You know, like, and the only reason we're talking about this is Brandon came in, which is our 16-year-old, and he's like, Mom, how can I be nicer to Lily? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, she just gets me really frustrated really easy. Lily's 8. So I said, okay, is she just going through a phase? So I said, a phase. I go, but I want you to understand this. I go, she's like Dad and she's like me. And he's like, but Dad's not mean. I go, no. I go, but can you imagine Dad? Can you imagine Dad without a filter and being young and without God? He's like, oh, I get it. So I said, okay, can you imagine me without able to control my emotions and my thoughts? He's like, oh man, yeah, okay, I have to be more patient with her. So I said, okay, I had to learn, Dad had to learn, she's in that stage. So he's like, did we all go through that stage? I said, you guys did. He's like, what did you do? I go, it's how to teach you, how to be patient. He's like, what was my phase? Was I just stubborn? He goes, I knew it all, huh? And I go, you knew it all, everything. And he's like, what about Gavin? I go, Gavin was just grouchy and stubborn. He's like, what about Aiden? He goes, no, wait, I know Aiden. He was just a crybaby, huh? I said, yeah, he was a crybaby. So each one had a phase that it's like level 1, they were a 12, like all of them. And it was really difficult to parent on my own. And one of the things that I had told Joe is like, I'm the bad cop all the time because I'm home. So when I call and tap in and I tell him, hey, help me out, he comes in and he's the good cop. You know, so of course they're going to listen to him. If the good cop has a couple of bad sides, it's okay. You know, he's not always bad. He's mainly good. So they listen to him more easily. So it's really easy for us to feel like, see, nobody listens to me. Like, why do they only listen to him? It's because we're there all the time. So it's different, you know?
Yeah. I think I've learned a couple of tricks that have helped me get by with the kids. And one of them is I apply what I like to them because I'm a guy. So with 3 boys, you know, when it comes to like cleaning up or something like that, I usually don't say, okay, I want this clean right now. I usually say, hey, in 15 minutes or in 30 minutes, it's going to be time for all of us to hustle and get the house cleaned up. And they're kind of like, okay. So that would be something that works for me. So it happens to work for them. The other thing that I would say, the most important lesson that I've learned as a parent that has been a game changer for me is this concept, is for you to look at your children for who they will be as adults. Okay. So one day they're going to grow up and then they're going to be able to make their own choices. Are they going to want to come back home and visit? Are they going to want to spend time with you? When you're too old and you have to be taken care of, are they going to put you in a home?
Jeez.
Because they don't want to deal with you anymore because you didn't want to deal with them? Or are they going to be willing to take you in and take care of you?
That's true, guys. Sorry, but it's true.
I know it's kind of a heavy loaded, topic, but this is the way that I think. I look at them not for who they are as little kids right now, but who they are going to be as adults. This is something that my pastor taught me that I'm really grateful for, because we tend to look at kids as property, as they're there to do what I say when I say to do it. Yep. And then they're supposed to know somehow that it's for their own good that I give them rules and tell them what to do and when to go and how to do it.
And they're supposed to know how to do it.
Right. So I yell at them when they don't do it right, but I don't teach them how to do it right. I yell at them when they don't do it fast enough, but I don't even explain why it's important to be done. I yell at them when they don't move fast enough and give them anxiety, whenever I tell them to do something next because they're about to go into a panic.
Yep.
Or I just make them feel like they're not good enough because everything they do causes yelling, whether they do it right or wrong. And so there's just things that we really need to be aware of. And in doing so, if we can adopt that shift of mindset, then you're going to treat them with respect. Because they are people. They want love. They want your love.
You need respect as well.
And so that respect that you give them by treating them, okay, I'm not saying that you give them the car keys and when they're 5 and say, go get your own milk.
Or tolerate them talking back to you.
Right. There has to be boundaries for sure. All I'm saying is that if it was, let's say, your boss, would you yell at him the way that you yell at your kids?
Yeah.
Probably not, right? Because there's a relationship with your boss that says, well, this guy, allows me to get a paycheck. Therefore, I'm going to give him a certain level of respect. Yeah. How is it that this guy that gives you money is more important than your own child? Right. And so this concept is important in instilling value into your children. Yeah. And then kids grow up. I mean, think about yourself, for instance, myself included. You grow up feeling less than, or you feel like you're not good enough somehow. You doubt yourself. You second guess your every move. You wonder if you're good enough to accomplish this goal, or you don't even try because you're afraid to fail. All of those things are developed in the home. Mm-hmm. So if your kids are free to fail, right? Your kids have this big, huge dream that they want to do something crazy when they grow up. Yeah, help them, guide them. How do they get to that point? Okay, yeah. When a kid says, I want to be an astronaut, you shouldn't just say, oh, that's nice, tap, 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 go play. Like, when they're old enough, talk to them. How would you even get there? What steps would you need to take? Yeah. How would you develop that in order to become an astronaut? What do astronauts do? Take them to the internet, look it up.
Library books.
Yeah, buy books. What's the pathway to become an astronaut? You know, those are the kind of things that we can do for our children that will allow them to grow in a much more healthy way. And if they're okay to fail, right, give them a little bit of freedom, depending on how old they are, to make some choices, right? And it could be something as simple as your chores. Give them a chance to prove to you that they can do their chores. And if they don't do it on their own, consequences, right? And when they're like, why are you doing this to me? You're evil. You're mean. So-and-so doesn't have consequences or chores. Well, that's when you bust out the old, well, so-and-so doesn't live in this house.
Not only that, but everybody has consequences. Right. You tell them everybody has consequences. I have consequences. You do something good, you get something good. You do something bad, you're going to have bad consequences. God does not take consequences away from you. Not even just because he loves us, just because you love them, it doesn't mean you take away the consequences, because they're there. It's just the way it goes. Yep. You know, and I'll make sure that we'll talk about that on the next one, about just all of that, you know, because there is a lot of just like, what can you say? Like, not rules or there's a lot of tips that have to do with just positive reinforcement when it comes to kids, you know, and we'll go over that too.
Yeah, and here's a couple of dots that I want to connect for you that I think I've experienced in my own life, and maybe you have too. Like, one of them being, we want our kids, right, when they grow up, we say it to other people, and we say it with full confidence. You got to just get up. You got to just get out there. And maybe it's a job, you know, and you go talk to the manager. You look them right in the eye, and you be confident in who you are. You know, we expect those things to happen. However, while they're children, they walk up to you because they have something to say. And it's like, why are you interrupting me? Go over there. Didn't I tell you? How many times I got to tell you, stop bothering me?
I'm busy.
Or, don't you see the adults talking? Go over there. Okay. What that does is that allows them to understand that they're not valuable enough for your time. Okay. They're going to be terrified to go up to somebody that they see as having authority, right? Because you're the parent, you're the authority. Yeah. And they're afraid because they're going to get yelled at. They're going to get belittled. They're going to get turned away. So now imagine being a grown up. You got to go talk to this person of authority. Go ask your boss for a raise. Go ask your boss for some help. Go tell your boss so-and-so is not pulling their weight and you need some extra help. Like, I'm not going up to a person of authority because I'm going to get yelled at. I'm not good enough. My voice is not worth being heard. My opinion is not valuable. And so what do? Right? You teach your kids when it's appropriate. Say, excuse me, when they have something to say. If your child comes up to you and they want to interrupt, there should be an appropriate way to do that. But more than anything, there is no other person, especially a stranger, that is more important than your child, right? Mm-hmm. If you're at the store, at the grocery store, what do you do when your child about rips off your heel with that cart, you know, where you're going down the aisleway? Man, you turn around like you want to rip somebody's head off, right? But what happens when you bump into a stranger? Oh, excuse me. Oh, haha, I'm sorry. So why wouldn't you do that for your own kid? You know, if we're going to treat anybody poorly, Why not a stranger? I'm not saying be mean to strangers,
give
but
them grace.
You get the point, right?
Yeah, give them grace, guys. And more than anything, like if you take anything away from this podcast, is this. One, your kids are not who they are acting out to be right now. They're not. Adapt to whatever they're struggling with. And what I mean by that is, and I want to take Gavin for an example. When he was younger, he struggled a lot with school. And when I said that, I didn't think that he was going to go to college because he hated school. He did not like it. And we struggled a lot for him to do his homework, for him to like it. He suffered a lot because he also moved a lot from school to school. So that hurt him a lot. So with him, we had to adapt and we had to be patient, you know, and we had to praise the good that he did, even if it was a little bit. And you can say like, man, so if he got a B, man, to us, that was like an A+ right there. Like we were so ecstatic. If he got a C, we were still happy about it. Yeah. We're just like, thank you for making the effort to study. Thank you because you studied. Thank you for that. You know, and we make sure that we praised him. And we stopped seeing what I told you that I saw in my mind. And I said, no, Gavin is going to go to college, because we made it not an exception. We said, this is who we are. This is why we need this. And you need this in your life, like kind of like it's part of our life. That's it. It's part of our life. So he finished high school. He already was signed up for college, and he is crushing it in college right now.
Yeah.
He is crushing it. Like he has not stopped. He's getting good grades, and he's like being so responsible when before we had to, he's working full time. Before we had to like wake him up and be like, Gavin, did you do your homework? Did you read? Can you get up now? Can you wake up now? And I was like, what are we going to do when he moves out? What is he going to do when he's by himself? Who's going to wake him up? Who's going to tell him to do his homework? Nobody. Because guess what? Because of this verse. It says, Proverbs 22:6, it says, start your children off in the way that they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. So we literally instill in him,
yeah.
And him and Aiden and Brandon, everything that they needed to know and how to do it. So as they're getting older, they're getting better at it. With Aiden, he is so well off because that kid had no chance. He had Vanessa and Joe 2.0. You know, like he had the better version of us. So he got kind of the more trained out parents. So for him, at 4 years old, guess what? He made his own bed. He cleaned up his own toys. He said, yes, please, thank you. I'll pick up my own by how old was he when he was doing his own laundry? I don't even remember.
Think he was turning 8.
He was very young. And so now anything, yes, Mom. Okay, I can do it. You talk to him. Everything it was a lecture with him. Everything. But it's so easier now. With Brandon, it was more difficult because everything was like, why? No. I don't know if I think that's right. Like everything was, he knew it all. I'm telling you, he was like the kid, like the genius encyclopedia in his own head, you know?
Yeah.
So it was very difficult to discipline him or even just help him to understand why shouldn't he not do what he's doing. You know, he thought he was his own lawyer. So it was very difficult. So with him, I was just like, he's never going to learn. He's never going to be good. And now he's over here teaching his own kids. They're calling him he's like everybody's counselor.
His own friends.
Yeah, his own friends, you know. And I thought like he would never hear me. So another thing, your kids are not going to be who you think they are. 2, okay? Be patient with them and help them in whatever they're struggling with, knowing that it's going to help them when they're older, okay? So the last thing is, and I just forgot. So, sorry, guys, my back's hurting. So I'm just like sweating right now. I
want to make sure that I just reiterate what I say, because I know I talk a lot and I tend to just go off the hook because it's just, you know, I get passionate about it.
He's excited, that's right.
Yeah. But just please don't forget to look at your kids and have respect for them, for the adult that they will become. And just know that the things that they're learning right now, they're learning from you. And it's really difficult to have that aha moment, you know, like I've had to have with each one of the kids, because one of the most difficult things to do is to discipline the you out of your kids, right? Because they are the you that hasn't had a lifetime of experience and understanding and ups and downs and all these other things that have helped you to become who you are. They haven't had that yet.
Yeah.
They're learning it right now. You are writing that part of their future for them and how they're going to develop and the character that they will have. And so if you want anything better for your children, if you want different from your children than what you've had and the struggles that you've had, then the only way is to do something different. Yes. You can't do the same thing and get, different results. It just doesn't work. So the best thing that you can do is really take this seriously and just change your tactic. Yes. Understand that what you're teaching them right now is what's going to stick with them for the rest of their life until they come to a point where they either decide no more or that was great. And they get to decide that on their own. In doing that, just know that the best thing you can do right now is to understand that for their future and start investing in their character now. And that might mean you have to make some changes in your own character, but so be it, right? We want the best for our kids. So it's worth it. It's worth the effort to let them know that you love them in this way and show them. Now, if your kids, I don't want to take anybody's hope away. If your kids are older, like some of our kids were older by the time we learned this, so that's what made it so difficult. But just know that doesn't mean that there's no hope, or that it's impossible, because with God all things are possible, and God is the one that can make all things new.
Hey, if he can change this guy,
that's right. That's true. And so if he can do it in my life, he can do it in your children's life. He can do it in your life. He can do it in your marriage, in your family. God in the center creates a change that we would never know before. Yeah. So just allow God and his peace and the Holy Spirit to move in you and in your family, and just be amazed at the work that God can do when we love each other.
Okay, so I remembered. So the last thing would be, your kids do not have common sense. So please don't expect them to have common sense. Please don't expect them to know that they should have known better. This includes your teenagers. Okay. So boys don't have common sense to the age, like, this is literally from people doing studies on people's brains. So boys don't have common sense till about they're 25. So if you don't teach them, like if you're not constantly teaching your boys, they don't know. Naturally, they don't know. Of course, if you teach them how to eat, do all this stuff, then they'll know. So obviously, if you're teaching them common sense, then they're going to know because you're teaching them. But naturally, they're not. So that means when you tell your kids, but I already told them, they need to say sorry, but I already told them then you're going to have to tell them again. Yeah. Guess what? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I can go on and on and on. Yeah. Because tomorrow they'll forget, and then the next day, and then the next day. And they're literally reliving the whole emotion all over again. And I want to give you an example. Lily cannot spend the night over at anybody's house. She's gotten to spend the night over at grandma's house. And guess what? Who's going to pick her up at 4 o'clock in the morning, at 1 o'clock in the morning? This guy. Yeah. Because she calls and she cries. So the last time she said, Mom, please, I promise you I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. It was 11:30 and Joe had to go pick her up. Okay, so our deal was, okay, if you go and you cry, you cannot ask me anymore. So today, guess what? Can I spend the night at my grandma's house? I said, no, my love, you can't. Why? Because we already talked about this. But why? Because last time you cried and you're still too young, maybe when you're older. But my brothers get to do it. Yeah, but your brothers are older. I hate being little. I'm like, I understand. I don't like being little. You're just keeping me in this dungeon. And I'm like, okay, I understand. I understand how you feel. You're just so keeping me trapped. I go, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to keep you trapped, but I need you to understand that you can't because you're still too little. You'll grow up eventually and you'll get there. She started crying her eyes out and she was so upset, and now her voice was raising. So I said, okay, look, I'm not going to get upset with you. And we're not going to have a discussion about this anymore. I said, you can't stay. I explained to you why you can't stay. Now, if you want to have a bad attitude and if you want to cry and if you want to have that type of tantrum, then you have to go do it in your room, because now you're affecting the peace around us, and that's not okay. You can have a bad, ugly attitude, but keep it to yourself, and you can have it in your space, in your room. How about that? No! I didn't ask you if you wanted to or not. You have to go. I go, and I'm going to count to 5. So I'm counting. I'm at 4. My eyes are already like twitching because I'm trying to stay calm. So she goes to her room. Guess how long it took her to calm down? It took her 3 minutes. She came out, her eyes were dry. I understand, Mom. I'm not going to be little forever. It's okay. I can go another time. It's not that big of a deal. And it's okay. It's not that bad being home anyways, right? And I said, right, it's not that bad. But see the difference between the fact if I would have said, I told you, what's wrong with you? You don't sleep. Just go to your room. One, she's not going to learn how to deal with her emotions. Two, she's not going to learn that if she wants to have a negative attitude, she's going to have that negative attitude alone because nobody's going to want to be around her right now, tomorrow, or when she's 15 or 20 or 30. If I keep teaching her that, then who's going to want to be alone with negative attitude? Nobody. She's going to have to learn it. And the quicker she learns it, the better. How long before she used to stay in her room crying?
I don't even know. If it were me, I would have cried for like a day.
She would cry hours. I'm not kidding. Hours and cry and cry. And I would go in and check on, are you ready? Are you ready to come out? No. And she's just crying. So now 3 minutes, guys, I'm impressed. That's huge.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, you need to teach your kids. Yes, you're going to get frustrated. When the moment that you feel the frustration, go to the restroom, breathe, and think about, I'm a teacher, I'm a teacher, I'm a teacher. If that was not your kid and you're a teacher, you can't be yelling at them or smacking them around. You have to be patient. So just go out there with the teacher mentality, teach them, and know, like, it's okay. Like, they're not having this attitude to control me. They don't know how to express what's going on in their heart or in their feelings. So I'm going to teach them, and I'm going to help them, and I'm going to guide them. And if it gets too intense, then they can go figure out in their room. And then when they're ready and they're calmed down, then we can talk about it then. So,
that's right. Love and correction go hand in hand.
Yes.
Yeah. So correction without love
is
just punishment. Okay. And it can be cruel. So make sure that it's done in love.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we love you guys. We'll talk about just the how-tos next time. With this, there's just tons of stuff to go with it. Yeah. If you have questions, or if you're like, okay, I have a particular situation, please message us, DM us, email us. You can find me at Grace Family Love on Instagram. Remember, one word, love is spelled L-U-V, or you can find me at Gracefully Living with V through Instagram. Either or. But just message us. Let us know if this helped you. Let us know if there's anything else that you guys would want us to talk about. We're here for you guys, and just because we don't talk about it, it doesn't mean that we can't, okay? There's no topic off limits. We talked about you guys, anything, we got no shame. But anyways, we're going to get going because I'm like sweating right now. I'm hurting so bad. I'm like hurt.
All right, well, let me pray and then we'll get out of here.
Okay.
Lord, thank you for just giving Vanessa the strength to be able to get through this. And I just ask that everybody that's listening, Lord, that they would be blessed by this message and that it would find a place in their heart. Lord, I pray that you would also allow your influence to come into our lives, all of us, to help us to become better parents, to become better fathers and mothers and husbands and wives.
Yes.
Allow that the things that we teach our children would be productive, that they would edify, and that they would build up our kids to help prepare them for what's to come, but with the loving, compassionate love of a parent.
Yes.
A parent that instructs and teaches in love.
Yes.
In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Bye, guys.